Welcome to the AME Food Testing Show. Today's topic, food production, chemical use issues with Roy Zahn. Roy is currently serving as the Chief Technical Officer at High Sierra Chemicals. Previously, he worked at Ecolab. His specialty included hospitality and healthcare clients. He also has years of experience in management in food service, Applebee's, California Pizza Kitchen, and the Charthouse. He studied at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, California. Now, welcome with me to the AME Food Testing Show, Roy Zahn. Roy?
Hey, Andy.
So let's begin, Roy. What's the number one issue when food professionals, and again, our audience of 55,000 includes food production, food quality, food safety, and food security managers. What's their number one issue when it comes to food chemicals?
Well, when I walk in the door, the first thing they want to know is price. And granted, costs are an integral part of any operation, but your chemical cost is only a small part. The real question that should be asked is, how effective are the chemicals you have? Do you have the training? Do you have the support that we need so we can produce safe quality food? I find in the past that cheap chemicals do a variety of things. One, they're very caustic, and they're very aggressive to soft metals, which in turn can lead to equipment failures, replacements of seals and pumps at a much higher rate, which in turn leads to downtime and loss of production. And also, when they're not as concentrated, not a quality chemical, you end up having to buy more, so you incur more shipping costs.
Well, Roy, when you talk about the price of chemicals, I think it goes hand in hand with the yield, isn't that right?
Right. I mean, you get a high-quality chemical that's concentrated. You have a greater yield, meaning it can be diluted in a much wider range, so you can target specific applications and get the best production out of it that you can.
Very good. I really find it interesting that you mentioned shipping costs, and the reason you mention that is because if you order less expensive product based on price, then you're ordering more of it. Isn't that right?
Very much so. A less expensive product usually means that you're going to use more of it to get the same result, or maybe not even as good as a result of a quality chemical. And in turn, you're ordering more often, they're shipping more often, you're paying that cost, as well as the environmental impact of continuing to ship.
Well, Roy, with your years of experience, what is your recommended product when it comes to price? The less expensive or the more expensive?
I think it's obvious. I would go with the premium product for the fact that you're going to get better results, a greater yield, and a less use cost. You may pay more for a concentrated drum of a 55-gallon drum, but you get a greater yield, so your actual use cost will be lower.
Well, Roy, let's move on to the next most important issue when we talk about chemicals and food production, the selection of quaternary sanitizers or disinfectants. From my training, disinfectants are substances that are applied to non-living objects to destroy microorganisms that are living on the object. Isn't that correct?
Correct. And in food production, you're going to have a variety of products to use. In your production line, you're going to use usually 12.5% food-grade chlorine. You want food-grade so it's not contaminated with any heavy metals or any other minerals that could be in there that may leach into the food as you're processing it, along with a food-grade citric acid to keep pH in line. You want to balance your pH because chlorine is more effective at certain levels of pH than it is at others. And these things are what you're using during the production phase of produce production and what have you. Afterwards, you're going to clean your production equipment, and your last step is you're going to want to sanitize using a Quaternary Sanitizer, which is a food-safe sanitizer, meaning you do not have to rinse it afterwards.
Well, Roy, given those parameters of the chemical that's purchased to disinfect a food contact surface, what is the recommended product in your years of experience?
I would have at least a degreaser. We have a very nice degreaser called Green Power, which has over 15 ingredients in it. Very safe on soft metals, very safe to seals that extend the life of your equipment. You want to have the Quaternary Sanitizer. Ours is our own patent. It's called Diocide 938, and it is continually, every 6 months, it is checked to make sure that it's effective on all the different organisms that are out there. Very few, if any, other quaternaries go through such stringent testing. And then you need a foaming acid and a foaming chlorinated cleaner to clean your production equipment. And you use the foaming chlorine as your daily cleaner, and then every other week or once a month, depending on your water conditions, you would use an acid, because what happens over time is you get accumulation of minerals or milkstone built up on the stainless steel, and you want to break that down, so you want to keep that as clean and as shiny as possible, so there's no chance for anything to start to grow and bacteria to multiply.
Excellent recommendations. Let's look at issue number 3, the use of chlorine concentrate. What are your recommendations with the use of sodium hypochlorite?
First, you want to use industry standard, usually about 12.5% concentrate, and I strongly recommend that you get #1 food grade chlorine. This is going to be in direct contact with your food that's being processed, being washed, and you want to make sure it's food grade so you're not contaminating the food with perhaps heavy metals, other things that have been picked up along the way, and it's with a cheaper chlorine. Health and safety is just too important to risk using something that's not #1 food grade.
Now, Roy, my understanding is that these types of products are oxidizing agents that require rinsing. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're going to, if you're using it on a hard surface, you would have to rinse prior to continued food production. In the production line, you get a rinse of the produce or your products going through the production. Most systems are automated to where they automatically inject chlorine into a wash bath, and the levels are maintained through what they call ORP, or through millivolts by measuring the chlorine, basically by running a probe in the sample cell that measures the chlorine through using electricity, basically.
Well, Roy, you've had quite a bit of experience with these ORS systems. Can you let us know how your recommended product input is into these automated systems?
Usually, if they're set up properly and they're calibrated, they work very well. They keep in your food processing system, to keep the chlorine level where you want it, and they keep the pH level using a citric acid in the recommended range, so you get the most effective killing power of the chlorine. What
would the parts per million be? I've heard it was anywhere from 2 to 4. Is that correct?
Usually right in that range. If you're in a commercial setting, in restaurants and that type of stuff, in a dish machine, they will have it set at 50 parts per million, depending on the health department's recommendation. But in food production, it's about 2 to 4 parts per million, and it's maintained through automated systems.
Roy, can you review with us very quickly what's the difference between foaming and non-foaming chlorine concentrate?
Well, your non-foaming is your food-grade chlorine that you're using in production systems. Your foaming chlorine is a chlorine cleaner that you're going to be using after production, that you apply and you clean the products, or you clean the machinery with, and it gets into the nooks and crannies and kills the bacteria and gets off any of the residue or organic matter that may be clinging to the equipment. And then you just you would rinse that, and then your final step you'd use a quaternary disinfectant just to make sure that everything is covered.
Roy, with your years of experience, what is the recommended product that you suggest for food production officers in their use of chlorine?
I'm not sure if I follow. In chlorine?
Yes. In this particular application, do you have a product that you particularly recommend as being the most effective?
Our product, I think, is outstanding. It's chlorofoam. It's for either mechanical or hand application, and it does a phenomenal job in cleaning food production equipment, bar none. Gets it clean, gets it into the nooks and crannies, kills the bacteria, and really does a phenomenal job.
Very good. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I can always tell when I go into a prospect an account, I can look at the equipment and tell a variety of things just by looking at it, whether or not there are, in fact, good quality practices being followed as far as cleaning the equipment, what kind of chemicals are being used, and if they've been taught to apply them the correct way. Just looking
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Roy,
machinery will tell you a lot just by looking at it.
Roy, what can you tell our audience would be the telltale signs of inappropriate chemicals used as you view the equipment?
If you look at some of the equipment, you can tell there's spotting or mottling, which means they did not follow the correct steps in applying the equipment. I mean, you've got to get it wet, then you apply your solution, and then you apply your mechanical action, the scrubbing and what have you, and then you rinse it. A lot of times folks will skip a step and just apply the equipment or a chemical to the dry equipment. And yes, stainless steel is a solid object, but it is also porous, and you can tell by some of the discoloration that whether or not it's been done properly.
Very good. Let's talk about issue number 4, selection of an appropriate degreaser. What is a degreaser first? Well,
a degreaser is a product that you're going to use to remove organic material, oily material, greasy material that you'll find in food production. You want a product that is strong enough to break down oils and stuff through a variety of ways, either caustic and saponify the oils. But you also want a product that has a variety of ingredients in there that will sequester the dirt so it doesn't get redeposited, that has water conditioners to make it more effective, that is also on a gentle side so it's not aggressive to soft metals that you'll find in pumps and housings, also so it's not aggressive to seals. Because if you have to stop production to replace pumps, seals, anything that breaks down because your chemicals are too aggressive, then you're losing money. So you get a degreaser that is well-rounded, so to speak, and it does the job effectively and safely and extends the life of your equipment but gives you excellent results. We have 2. One of them is green power. The other one is 24 karat. Depending on the soil load, I would pick either one of those.
So in my analysis, the purpose of a degreaser is to attack the contamination layer. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the most important thing as a follow-up is for the end user to follow the label instructions.
Exactly. As with any chemical, you want to follow the label instructions as far as dilution, application, dwell time, rinsing, any preparation before or after, all be spelled out on the actual label.
Roy, is there some science or art to the dilution changing, either up or down in the concentration of these degreasers?
Well, you can, in our case, our degreasers have a wide dilution range depending on your soil load. If it's a lighter soil load, you could mix it at a lower concentration. If it's a higher soil load, you can increase the concentration to get a little more cleaning power. So you have that ability. You're not just locked into one specific amount per million. So you get the flexibility and you get the yield there.
Very good. Roy, you've given us an excellent summary of the 4 major issues food production managers face. If you don't mind, give us a summary of your advice to food production managers as they look at their purchasing habits of chemicals and their use of the chemicals and their training to their personnel.
One, I would look at the overall cost picture, not just the cost of chemicals, because that always represents a small fraction of the pie. You've got labor, you've got utility costs, you've got water. You have all of those that you have to factor into the cleaning process. You use quality chemicals with a quality training program. If you don't have the correct training, and then no matter what chemicals you end up purchasing, you're not going to get the results you want. And food safety is much too important not to have the correct training and procedures to get the results that you need to produce a safe quality product. With your chemical supplier, I always like to be a partner with my customers. I don't view them as a customer. I view them as a partner because we are partnering together to put out a safe quality product. And it's through our chemicals and my training, my expertise, that I help them do that. And that's what I strive to do for every one of my customers.
Well, that's very refreshing, because I personally bought things which the salesperson did not have that opinion, and I ended up spending more money in the long run in my original effort to save money.
At times, yes. You'll find a lot of folks that just are in it for the sale, and I've always believed if you don't need it, I'm not going to sell it to you. Why warehouse chemicals when we have a warehouse that does it very well, and I don't need a customer to do that for me?
Well, Roy, as I think about buying habits of production managers, do you find that a lot of them buy the same chemicals over and over and then sort of compromise on the end result?
Sometimes. They'll get stuck in a rut. A lot of times they have so many things at their plate that they'll just go the easiest route. And that may not be, in the long run, the best route. That's why if I can go in and consult and work with them, see what they need, see what their shortfalls are, then I can help them fill in the gaps, and I can work with them to stay on top of the things that are important to them as well as to the industry.
Well, Roy, thank you for your time today. I'd like to now allow you any final comments that you might have, particularly about your service and your service area, and then we'll conclude our interview.
Pretty much I'm throughout the state of California and Yuma at this time in the winter when production moves there. I follow my customers there and provide the same service that High Sierra is known for. And I look forward to answering any questions and being of service to anybody in your listening area.
Well, thank you, Roy. I've posted your contact information, I hope you don't mind, including your email and your website.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you, Roy. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye now.